Just say it.
Somebody said Harry.
Here we come. Here we come. All right. Hello, my loves. Hello, my loves. And welcome to another episode of Monique and Sydney's Open Relationship. Hey, my daddy.
Hey, my love.
Oh, let's get it. Let's make it. Let's make it happen. See, daddy, okay, you know when we have a large audience, I've got to bring them in with song. Okay, daddy, give me a kiss. Let's start. What we talking about today, daddy?
What we talking about, baby?
Okay, today we are talking about the deal that was offered to me from Netflix. And we're also going to talk about some of our folks that have opinions and weighing in on what they thought I should do or how they thought I should handle it. But we want to talk about this Netflix deal, and we want to talk about why exactly we're asking for this boycott of Netflix and why we're unwavering, why we can't back down. And when you talk to folks that when you first start talking, they come in ready to fight. That's unfair. I won't say they come in ready to fight. They come in ready to knock down what you have to say. But once you have to try to make them explain what they're trying to say, they can't. And then they begin to join the boycott. And that's what happened today when we did an interview with Hot 97. Initially, when we started, they were, I don't know, Mo, I don't know. But by the time we got finished, they then said, we are joining the boycott.
Which to me says that a lot of people are saying a lot of things based upon how it hits them. I don't think that a lot of people are trying to be messed up for the sake of being messed up. It's kind of like when I watched the interview with Tony Rock.
Yes.
And the guy from TMZ approached him and said, hey, Tony, Monique, your brother's Chris Rock got the 22 million or 20 million. And Monique was pretty much saying she should be in that conversation.
Yes.
And the way he perceived it, I think, is like any other person who you're going to walk up on me, asking me questions about somebody that seems to be challenging the worthiness of my brother getting what it is that they getting. What she need to do is stop worried about what Chris get and worry about her stack.
Mm-hmm.
And based upon that understanding, it makes 110% sense. However, that's not what transpired. What transpired is, in this whole movement, it is not about Amy Schumer or Monique or Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. It's about Monique and Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes and
Come on, baby.
Tiffany Haddish and,
Samoa and Adele and Miss Laura
and
and Cheryl Underwood, and the list goes on and on.
And the Kim Whitleys. So what happens is, even though these individuals like Steve Harvey, again, Tony Rock, Charlamagne The God, these individuals may have issues and something to say, but I don't think that they really understand that they'll say how they love their mamas.
Come on.
They'll say how they love their wife.
Come on.
They'll say how they love their aunties.
Come on.
They say how they love their daughters and they working hard so that their daughters don't have to deal with some of the struggles that the women in their lives today and the women that came before them had to deal with. But now you got a black woman who's standing up and saying, why not us too? Not why not me, why not us all? Everybody who has done something worthy of being witnessed, why can't they get a fair deal if they are a person of color? And when you start looking at the landscape of things and you see there are no black women at Netflix who have a large deal, and everyone else of every color, white men, white women, black men have it, but why not the black woman?
Somebody just put, if I didn't know how much everybody else's deal was with $500,000 being issued, listen, baby. Yes, it would be an issue because we know what those deals bring. And here's what's funny that I have to bring up. There's some people saying, oh my goodness, why don't Monique just take that $500,000 and take her ass on somewhere and shut up? And some of those people look like me. Now, when Amy Schumer was offered $11 million and she went back and said, listen, guys, I don't think I should get what the legends are getting, but I should get more. Who said, why don't Amy Schumer shut her ass up and take that $11 million? I don't remember Tony Rock saying that. I don't remember Steve Harvey saying that. I don't remember Charlamagne The God saying that. And that was public knowledge.
And the reason why they didn't say that is because there was no uproar in reference to her believing that she should get it. There was an uproar because she did not get what it was that they received. And nobody stood up because essentially what is subliminally being said to you, no different from Cadillac Records, where Most Def is sitting there with Adrian Brody, and he says the Most Def, who's Chuck Berry, I'm gonna make you famous, and he's looking at Adrian Brody, who's white, and I'm gonna make you rich.
Come on.
And we saying, listen, if you notice, they'll make black folks rich. All you gotta do is look at one of the most incredible programs that are on today. One of the most incredible programs on today, and you got to give props, and we're going to give thanks to TV One, is TV One's Unsung.
Come on.
They telling you the business, guys. They telling you about how they got taken advantage of. And here's the thing. What they will also bring to the light is it's not just the white man that's raping the black man and the black woman. It is also us too.
Y'all, we're going to have a real conversation today. And if you notice, and this is something that I also want to bring to our community, because now everybody's saying our community, and I appreciate it. We went on a show in New York. It's called the Bernie and Sid Show.
Tell them.
Two white brothers. Bernie is a strong Republican and a strong Trump supporter.
Staunch.
Sid is a Democrat, right? Now, when I go into this interview, I'm already walking in with a preconceived notion that I'm going to have to defend myself because I'm walking in to this white man that's a strong Trump supporter, and he's a strong Republican, and he's not going to understand my plight as a black woman wanting equality. Already preconceived notion. When I walked in there, after 5 minutes of me explaining what was happening, these two white men said, listen, this is straight out racism. We are boycotting Netflix. We will not stand by and watch this happen. Monique, when we look at you, we rate you as a 9-10 in the comedy world. When we look at Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, we rate those men as 9-10s. When we look at Amy Schumer, we give her the rating we give her. I said, well, do you think that I'm considered a legend? Those two white brothers said, hands down. Now, I guess where I get passionate and I get my feelings involved is when I'm sitting there looking at my two white brothers, calling it for what it is. But then when I have my brother, Steve Harvey, go on the air and say, oh man, and I'm paraphrasing, here she go again. Whoo, she done burned a lot of bridges, and what she should have done was you go back and you renegotiate. I'm listening to my brother say that, and again, I'm paraphrasing. I'm listening to my brother Tony Rock say, I mean, I wouldn't consider her great, but she's done some great things. I'm listening to my brother Charlamagne The God say, she gets donkey of the day. But I'm sitting across from my two white brothers saying, we're going to call this what it is. So when I think about those three black named Jill, and she's a white sister.
In addition to Levity Live Comedy Club, in addition to the Improvs,
Yes.
These are white establishments owned by people who happen to be Caucasian. And they're getting behind individuals who are not of color. And individuals of color are not getting behind an individual of color trying to fight for their mamas, their sisters, their daughters. So what this means is, from a social standpoint, this is not about color. This is about consciousness. And those individuals who were Bernie and Sid, they're conscious. They are awake. Brother Steve, Brother Tony, Brother Charlamagne The God, they are awake to what they're awake to, but they're sleeping on this because the question someone would ask them is this. If they love their mama, if they love their sister,
come on,
Do you think that they would tell you anything in reference to the place that they had being women and women of color where there was some disparity? And if you, as Steve Harvey, as Tony Rock, as Charlamagne the God, had the opportunity to fix the disparities that your mom or your sister or your auntie or your daughters might experience, the question is, would you do what you could to stop the disparity? And if your answer is yes, then stand with us. Because what we're doing, because see, I saw Steve Harvey, and I'm sorry, I saw Steve Harvey on the stage, and he was surrounded by his family on one of his birthdays, and Martha Stewart was on the show. And you got to understand people's mentality to say what they said. And he was surrounded by his family. And when I tell you, you can't get any more beautiful of a family than what he had. And he just had a brand new granddaughter who was sitting there on his shoulders. And as she's there now, I mean, as she's wherever she is right now, I remember to this day when they asked Steve, when he blew out the candles, what do you wish for? And he said, I wish for $1 billion. That's what I wish for. And when I saw that, I realized at that moment, as that man was surrounded by his family, that what he didn't realize, if he got $1 billion, he would be taking a pay cut because he was surrounded by trillions, and that was his family. So when you have individuals whose mindset is to get the bag and get the paper, get all of that, it's easy to ignore the fact that Monique could have taken $500,000 and said nothing. But if she did that, she would have lowered the ceiling for the other comedians who have not accomplished what she has. Case in point, look at what Wanda Sykes has, arguably one of the funniest comedians of all time, with Monique, the Queens of Comedy, arguably. But they offer her $250,000.
And when y'all can't make it make sense, what y'all fall into is, oh, she's not relevant. That's what y'all fall into. Y'all fall into, some of you, oh, she doesn't have followers. But we want to ignore, well, she was just in a movie in 2016 that was a hit. Now it's just 2018, January. But we want to ignore that. We don't want to talk about that. And I want to go back to the point I was making, Daddy, about Steve Harvey, about Charlamagne the God, and about Tony Rock. Because I want to share my personal experiences with these brothers. That's why some things, it catches you off guard when you hear some things that's being said. Because Steve Harvey and I, we have a long history. We go all the way back to that man saying to me in a parking lot in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Uptown Comedy Club, seeing my performance, you know what, little girl, you already a millionaire and you don't even know it. And I looked at that man and see, back then, Steve Harvey was big in our community. If Steve Harvey gave you a compliment, baby, your ass got a compliment. And I was like, wow. I couldn't wait to tell everybody what Steve Harvey said to me. So then Steve Harvey invites me to his club. Me, Melanie Camacho, Edwanda White, and Kiki Shepard. I'm brand new to the game.
Tell it on the mountain.
So when I get there, I'm opening up the show. No one knows who I am. Kiki hosts the show, then I come out. After that show, Steve Harvey comes to me and says, you know what? The next show, I want you to go second. I said, okay, because this is Steve Harvey to me. After that second show, he came back. He said, tomorrow night, check this out. All the shows going forward, I want you to close it.
Close it.
I didn't understand order. I didn't understand an opening, a feature, a closer. All I know is I'm on stage, baby. And I'm on stage at Steve Harvey's club. That's what I know. What I didn't understand was when your position changes, the money changes. Now, Steve Harvey and I have a running joke that we've had for years. And I always say, nigga, when you going to give me my money? That's the running joke. But what the joke was, it was on me. Because what my brother was saying to me was, let me introduce you
to the game.
To the game. See, we'll move you up, but we won't give you the money. We won't even let you know you're supposed to get the money. So when I watch my brother Steve, and see, I know this is going to get back to Steve, because for whatever reason, you won't call us up. You won't have us on your show. So because we do have this platform, we have to share to you how we're feeling, because you won't call. See, when you introduced me to the game to say this is the way it's going to be. And then I'm going to give you our history. When the Monique show goes away, Steve Harvey says, I talked to Monique and she good. Because the listeners were calling in saying, no, Steve, what can we do? We can't let that happen. I talked to Monique and she know what she's doing. Steve Harvey never talked to me to ask me anything. So I'm like, this is my brother. What you doing, brother? I want to just give y'all some of me and Steve Harvey's history. So when I watch and hear my brother make these comments, I'm saying, brother, what are you doing? Because not one time have you reached out and said, sis, let me hear what's going on, because you continuously say, this is my friend. This is my friend. So when we didn't speak about the Monique show, okay, listen, y'all, I ain't asking not a goddamn soul to fight my battles. If it don't make sense, don't get involved. Now I want to speed you up. Steve Harvey and I and my husband had a conversation about doing a talk show deal. And in that conversation, Steve Harvey says to me and my husband as we're at his home, man, if we get this goddamn talk show and you come on before me, shit, that's my private jet right there. Is that not what he said?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're sitting there talking about doing the talk show, having a beautiful conversation. Steve Harvey says as we're departing, now I don't want to go into full detail about what we talked about because I still want to respect my brother. After we get up and we leave Steve Harvey's house, as we're leaving, his wife was standing right there. He said, listen, I'm here for y'all. If y'all need any help with this deal, y'all call me up so we can get it done. Is that not what he said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, there was a gentleman involved who happened to be a white gentleman. Sydney and the gentleman were having a conversation. When we began to talk about our deal, he began to tell us about Steve Harvey's deal and some money that Steve Harvey was getting. And Sydney said to that man, check this out. Don't you ever disrespect.
That's not how I said it.
I'm sorry.
Be clear on how I said it.
Tell him how you said it, Daddy.
It's important because, again, I'm the difficult one.
Come on.
So it's imperative that how you state things is said. And what was said to him directly was, do me a favor in the future. Please don't give me any of Steve Harvey's personal information. He's a friend and he's a frat brother. And that's his business, because you didn't tell me Ty Pennington's quote, who you work with. You're telling me his quote. And I take that personally as a black man as well. Now, somebody said that may be a little strong, but they didn't hear the dialogue prior to that. And then we got a call from Steve Harvey who said, man, they worried that they done blew the deal with you because you took up for me. And I told them, sometimes my fraternity brothers get a little fanatical. And my thing was, I wasn't being fanatical. I was being respectful, because we don't need to know what he made. But to call us back immediately on behalf of them, and then we not get a return call after it's all said and done, from our understanding, there were some things that transpired that didn't make it go down. Whatever it is, all we're saying is, if you keep taking less, when can you ever get more? And this is not saying Steve Harvey, and I want to reiterate this, Steve Harvey, Charlamagne, Tony, Netflix, none of them are bad. None of them are. We don't want to make this a war on who they are as human beings.
Not at all.
Because he does a lot for the folks in the community, and it's no question. What we're saying is, you're forgetting that it was women of color that put us here if you are a man of color. And now you have a woman of color trying to stand up for all women. However, in this specific incident, women of color. Why is that a problem?
Why is that a problem? And again, see, Daddy, I have to tell the story because I keep hearing these people give their opinions, but y'all aren't sharing the conversations that's had in private. And that's what's not appreciated. See, once we began to talk about doing this deal, months went by, and we reached out to our brother Steve Harvey. and the calls never got returned. And then when we finally got the word, the talk show was not going to go because Steve Harvey was not going to get the money that he wanted to get. Now, we don't know if that's true or not because Steve Harvey never reached out to us. So this is what I'm saying to my brother Steve Harvey. What happened with you and I? And when did my character get in question? That you would begin to say, Monique's burned some bridges. And the bridges you're speaking about is Oprah, Tyler, and Lee. And here's what I would say to Steve Harvey in reference to me burning bridges with these people. Steve, if it were your daughter or your grandbaby, and she came to you, and she said, Papa, these people have violated me. They've put me in a position, Papa, where they've affected my livelihood. Do you tell your grandbaby or your daughter, listen, you don't want to burn those bridges, so sit down and be quiet? Or two, do you tell your grandbaby or your daughter, hey, sweetness, we got to take a stand, baby, because I know what you've done. I know what you've done. And what we can't do is allow this to happen. See, what you're doing is saying to the public, because you have their ear, Monique is wrong, without giving me the platform to say, well, prove me wrong then, y'all. I'm asking y'all to prove a sister wrong. When somebody puts in the room and they put, I'm sorry, no. And they put LOL. Monique says she's the most decorated comedian alive. Well, that's funny as shit. Well, Daddy, I don't.
It's one of those things where it is humorous when you hear it said out of context, but when you put it in context and you say, well, Monique has had 57 wins. As an actor, an actress, and comedian, 57 wins and 25 nominations. Brother Chris Rock, who was highly decorated, has 19 wins and 63 nominations. Now, here's the thing. A brother got 63 nominations and only got 19 wins. Within itself, that's crazy. You got Dave Chappelle. What's this? 5 wins, 12 noms. Eddie Murphy, 30 wins, 72 nominations. And these nominations are extraordinarily high for the wins that they had.
Yes.
Do you understand? But she has 57 wins, and then Amy Schumer has 17 wins and 38 nominations. Now, the next closest person who is a comedian to Monique as it pertains to major awards is Eddie Murphy with 30 awards and 72 nominations. And she has 57. Now, what we're saying is this. Every one of those individuals are proven and should get what they have gotten. They deserve it. You can't go hating on Amy Schumer because she got a $13 million deal. You got to say cheers and raise your wine glass. Same to Dave, same to Chris, same to all the cats. All we're saying is, what about the black women in comedy?
That's all.
What about the black women? You've proven that you'll pay white men. You've proven that you'll pay black men.
Come on.
You've proven that you'll pay